Hello, people. We are live now. Is everyone hearing me well? Let me know in the chat. Andrew, how are you? Henrik, Alan. We have a few here at this moment. So, now, everybody, let me know where you guys are from. I want to know in the chat. That background music is awesome. What is it? Thanks, man. That's actually my instrumental album. I released that album back in 2011. So this is it's a song I co-wrote with my buddy Jimmy. So I'm gonna leave the link in the description below if you want to check it out. It's on Spotify and everything. So it's an entire instrumental album, and so that's the intro music, basically. So, yeah, thanks, Jason. So now, who else is here? We have Andrew. Hello, Andrew Mallison. Laurent is here. Daniel, Jacques. So, Louis is here too. I'm going to answer your question later on, Louis. Now, who else is here? Jason is from Plainfield, Illinois. That's sweet. Niall, I hope I pronounced that well, is from Spain. That's cool. And Daniel Jacques from Saint-Julie. That is actually like maybe 15-20 minutes from here. So that's pretty cool. Henrik, Barcelona. So we have like a couple of people from Spain here. That is quite nice. So I hope everyone is doing good. I hope you had a nice weekend. I've been working like crazy lately. You know, I've had a lot of work, a lot of stuff going on. So that's why it was a bit hard to catch up with the YouTube video and stuff. You know, since I came back from NAM, stuff has just been crazy busy, which is good. It's always good to be busy. Always good to make music and so on. So now we have Carnage. I hope I pronounced that right. He's from Beirut, Lebanon. That's so cool. Hey, man. You know what? It's funny because my father was born in Egypt, actually. So, yeah, I have a bit of Arabic roots myself. So, we have George from Greece. Awesome, George. So, we have, I don't know how many we are. It says 16 viewers or so. So, please like the stream, like and share, let people know that we are live for a bit, and let's start this up. I've been saying that I was quite busy lately. I started to work on a full album last week, and that is a part of all the smaller projects I have, like mixing songs and EPs and stuff that is going on right now, and some video editing and some other stuff that my business provides as services. But yeah, recording albums, producing albums, and mixing is part of what I do on a regular basis. So now we started to work on this this album that was recorded on the stage of a church. Okay, this is the church I attend most of the time, and I work there a couple times a month, you know, as a sound engineer and as a musician as well. And we've recorded that album live on the stage of that church without any public. So we just used the stage of the church as a recording studio. So the band was playing live. We recorded everything live, and we're going to work on overdubs later on here in the studio. So it was a very cool experience. Now, that was my third time recording at this venue. But the first time it was actually the first album I produced back in 2003. Yeah, 2003. And that was a live album in front of the public. But last time 2 years ago was the same type of production, recording live on that stage. So that was my second time around doing that full production type of recording, using the stage as a recording studio. And this is quite interesting because, you know, it's a stage. You know, it's not necessarily meant to be used as a recording facility, you know. So it was quite interesting, honestly. And it's always fun to do stuff like that, and I really like that, and especially recording a band live. I'm used to do a lot of productions in overdubs, meaning that you record the drums at first, and then you record the bass, the guitars, and so on. You build the song that way. So this is the overdub recording techniques. But this time, all the bass tracks, now we're talking about drums, bass, 2 guitars, 1 keyboard and piano, 1 singer, and did I say bass? Oh, I'm gonna say bass again. Anyways, so all of these bass instruments were recorded live. So what is going to be left to do in the studio is not very much. That's just probably just going to correct a few things, especially for vocals and maybe guitars. We'll see. And I know that the producer, he worked on recording some tracks on his own at his studio. So he's going to bring all of those tracks. He's going to send those to me so I can just blend those into the mix. So now I'm. We did the recording a week ago. Everything in one day. We only took one evening to do the sound check and set up and everything. Actually, half a day. The day after was the actual recording. So we recorded 10 songs, which was a very long day, but a fun day at the same time. So it was pretty cool. Now I'm just gonna pause this for a bit and check what you guys are saying in the chat. All right, so I was down to Neil, George. Okay, we have Mew Kenyi, I hope. Oh man, I'm so bad with names, but sorry if I did pronounce that wrong. He's from Somalia, which is quite nice. Audio Glass from Switzerland. Cool. And what else do we have? Now we have, Wave just released a new plugin, Chambers, and it's $29 right now. Yeah, Waves does a lot of specials. It's been doing a lot of special for the past few months. They have like that $29 deal on certain plugins. Now I never tried this one. And, you know, I'm not like a big Waves plugin user, but I did dig a few of their plugins and I took advantage of those deals to buy some like 3-4 plugins that I actually use a lot. So you know, check them out. You know, go on the Waves website and check their plugins. You know, if sometimes you get like an 80% off deal, which can be cool for useful plugins. Now I'm saying useful plugin because it's not all plugins that are going to be useful for you. You know, so you have to be careful with that. Don't be the type of person who's going to just end up with a bunch of plugins as a collector and not using them, you know. So I'll just that my mentality anyways is just to get to know the plugins I use. Okay, if I don't use a plugin, I'm just not gonna install it or just not gonna buy it. So that's why I only have maybe 4 Waves plugins so far. We have Sunil from India. Cool. And Klaus from Germany. Cool stuff. So welcome and thank you for being on this live stream with me. Again, like, share, you know, let people know we are live. And so let me continue my story about the live recording. Actually, I have some stuff to show you, just to give you an idea on what that looked like. Let me check here what we have. Yeah, so that is the actual church. So this is the empty stage. So you know, you can see the type of room we did the recording. So it's a pretty large room. That was the time we did the setup and stuff. So I'm going to go back and just, especially for the drums, there's some cool stuff we did with the drums as far as room microphone goes. Now, this is the D1 Live console. We actually took the preamp out of this console to do the recording. Everything was recorded in Pro Tools because the church has already a recording room. And it's already set up with Pro Tools, so everything is patched up and everything. So it's very, very simple to start the recording process. So I use Pro Tools to do the recording. Went well, you know. I did work a lot with Pro Tools. I did a lot of mixing in Pro Tools. I prefer Cubase. That's a personal preference though. But it's like in my case, since I'm working in that business, the recording and mixing business, it is not a bad thing to know more than one DAW. Okay, so like in situations like this, if I go in a studio that is using Pro Tools, like a lot of studios does anyways, I'm not going to be lost. Okay, so that's the beauty of knowing more than one DAW. In my situation, this is not the case for most of you guys, but if this is your work, or you're planning on doing the music production stuff on a daily basis, or as a part-time job, or working with clients, it's not a bad thing to at least know what's out there as main DAWs, you know. So that helped me anyways in this case. Now let's go back to the chat. Andrew, how did you cope with the bleed from everyone playing together? All right, so I'm gonna get to that point, but first I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee before it gets cold. Oh yeah, I love coffee, by the way. I love tea too, but I'm a big coffee fan. All right, so talking about the bleed. Now okay. First, the drums. The drums were the big thing, you know. So this is the drums can be loud on a stage, you know, especially when you're doing a live recording. Now, my main concern was the vocal, you know. So of course, I am going to end up with a bit of a bleed into the microphone, the lead singer's microphone. So I had to choose to select the right microphone for this type of situation, this type of recording. So in that case, I usually don't go with a condenser, not with a condenser, but with a this type of condenser microphone, which is more of a studio microphone that is more sensitive, I would say, and not very ideal for this kind of situation. Something like the one I used, the Audix, the VX5 that I used. Now, this is a very, very nice microphone, and it works very well. It does, it's not as sensitive as these mics. Sounds very good, actually, very surprising. I did another live recording with this microphone. So it's a cardioid mic. It keeps things in focus, and it deals very good with bleed. Okay, so this is what I like about this microphone. So check it out, Audix VX5, mainly used for live concerts and stuff. Okay, so very good for a bit like a SM58. Okay, same type of microphone, but sounds way better than a 58 in my opinion. So this is the microphone I used, and I had these types of like in front of the mic I had like kind of a half circular type of thing that deals with a bit of soundproofing and acoustics and stuff, just to avoid getting too much of a bleed. And we had like a plexiglass, not in front of the drums, but closer to the lead singer, but not that close, not to get too much reflection, but just to at least try to tame down a bit what was going on with the drums. So that's how I tended to control the bleed of the drums in the lead singer's microphone. And it worked. It worked very well. So the bleed is not going to be a problem, I would say, when it's going to be time to mix. Now, as far as the guitar goes, now the guitar amps, we had two electric guitars. Both amps were in the back of the stage. So they were, you cannot see them from the stage. They were mic'd in the back of the stage with two microphones. We used a Royer 122 ribbon microphone on each, plus an SM57 on each. Okay, so two microphones, and they were, I actually didn't take a picture. Can you imagine? I thought I filmed some footage of the mic setup of the guitar amps, but I didn't after all. So, but basically what I did, I kind of closed mic, it was maybe that close, maybe half an inch or an inch, I would say, from the speaker. And both microphones were actually like this, you know, something like this. So we had the Royer ribbon mic, and on top of it the SM57, so very close by. So this way I avoid some phase issues. So everything is in phase and sounds pretty good. So so this way there was no bleed whatsoever with the guitar amps. So that was pretty simple. Acoustic guitars, I think it was maybe 2 songs that needed acoustic guitars. So that wasn't an issue. Everything was just in line, plugged into a DI, and that was it. But we might just re-record them in the studio, okay, as far as the acoustic guitar goes, just to get a better sound, I would say. So in that type of situation, I like to re-record everything in the studio for an acoustic guitar. So let's go back to the chat. Now we have like 20 people on the chat right now, which is quite nice. Again, don't forget to like, share, and make sure people know that we are here live on YouTube. Okay, now if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave your questions in the chat, on the stream chat. Okay, now how did you cop? Okay, I answered that question now. That's me, the plugin collector. Neil, you're the plugin collector. Look at that. Yeah, you're trying to quit. Maybe therapy could be a good thing. Have you ever thought of that? That's funny. Yeah, you know, I'm a big advocate of using fewer plugins, but knowing your plugins. So I would actually advise you, or maybe challenge you, of doing so. To anyone starting in music production and recording, I would first start by using your stock plugins. Okay, just to be used to use plugins, you know, to know the type of plugins that are available within your DAW. These days, like Cubase, Pro Tools, Logic, Reaper, have like very, very cool plugins, very good sounded plugins. And just if you get to know them pretty well, afterwards it's going to be a bit more worth it to buy some if you need to. Maybe you won't need to after all. You know, a guy like Joe Gilder, a very good friend of mine. If you don't know Joe, go and check him out. Home Studio Corner, okay, on YouTube. He has an awesome YouTube channel, and he works with Studio One. Most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, he works with stock plugins, and he recorded like several albums mixing with stock plugins. So you can produce awesome stuff, and let me tell you, he has some very good albums there. He's a good songwriter, and I'm a big fan. So anyways, check him out. But all that to say that stock plugins is a very good way to know plugins and to know how to control and how to know how plugins sounds like. Okay, then you can maybe, you know, by trying some premium plugins, maybe you're gonna find the need to work with premium plugins, and at this point, at least you'll know what you're doing, and you'll have a good reason to buy a premium plugin. You know, so I use lots of premium plugins, to be honest with you, but each of them that I use, I have a good reason to. Okay, and most of the time, it's some stuff that I just find that sounds better than the stock plugins, or that control themselves better, I would say, or more user-friendly, or with more options. So, you know, but at some point you get to that point after a while of mixing, but it's not a must. All right, so that was my huge talk about plugins. Greetings from Nashville. Nice hat. Yeah, thank you, man. I was actually a Titans fan since '99, I think, and I still remember the Super Bowl. They played against the Ram. Yeah, that was quite a Super Bowl game. So yeah, greetings, man. And I have to say, you have a nice town. You live in a nice town. I love Nashville. All right, what else do we have? Moonhair Studio, Darken, Jax, cool name. Darren is the snoring east of England. Phase is something I haven't got to grip with yet. How do you feel if you're getting phase issues before you record? And is there a way to deal with it after? I would say deal with it before if you can. Okay. First of all, if you want to know if you're, like, for example, I was talking about my amplifier, my guitar amp, miking a guitar amp with 2 microphones. If you just mic you take your 2 microphones, you just randomly mic the amp with the 2 microphones. Now, if because you know you're recording the same signal. The same signal is recorded within two different microphones. So if the phase, if the distance between the two mics is not the same, you are going to end up with some phasing issues. So meaning that in your DAW afterwards, or even while monitoring your signal while recording, if you have those two signals playing at the same time, you will see a reduction of beefness. I don't know if you can say that, but your sound is going to sound more thin. Okay. So just play with the distance of those two mics. The relationship with the source and the microphones needs to be the same. This is the easy way to get a good phase relationship. Now, if you're planning on using one of the mics to be more of a, to capture the room, okay, so a bit more further away from the source, you can use the 341 formula, which is basically you need to at least be 3 times the distance of the source from the first microphone to the source from the second microphone, okay, something like that, so it stays in phase, in a good phase relationship, okay. So let's say your first microphone is like a foot away from the source. Make sure your second microphone is 3 feet away, okay? And you just test that out. Test that out. Just play with the distance of one of the microphones until you get a more full sound. So this is for a guitar amp, okay? That goes for an acoustic guitar if you're miking your guitar with more than one microphone. I'm going to do a tutorial on that, actually, talking about guitars. That could be a good one to do on an acoustic guitar with 2 microphones. So I don't know if that helps, Moonhair, so let me know in the comment if you have other questions concerning that. But I would say, you know, I always try to fix that up before I record. But if you noticed after the fact, you can always switch the polarity of one of the tracks in Cubase or any other DAW. You can check or just move the file, try to match the file. If your goal was to have them at the same distance, but you ended up not being at the same distance for you know some reason, that could be a good thing to do. Now, Andrew, did you use Warren's trick for recording the bass using a mic and DI? Yeah, I did. I didn't know it was Warren's trick, but yeah, I did. A lot of people do, actually. So we had a D112 as a microphone to mic the guitar amp, not the guitar amp, but the bass amp, which was in the back of the stage as well, on top of the DI. Okay, I like doing that, but you know, if I have access to a bass amp, I will do it for sure. And yeah, Warren does that a lot, and I really like what he does. So that is a good way to do it. So if you have the chance to do so, yeah, do it. It's always cool to mix an album with, you know, to mix a bass when you have more than the DI signal. But if I have to choose between the two, the bass amp signal and the DI, I would go with the DI, because I could always duplicate the track and just pop in a bass emulation amp plugin to, you know, basically do almost the same. Now, do you use Drumagog or Steven Slate drum replacement? I use Drumagog. Is it Drumagog that I use? I forgot, because you know I actually use a lot the stuff in Cubase. But I think Drumagog is the one I use. No, Trigger. Trigger is the one I use. So that is Steven Slate Trigger drum replacement. I used to use Drumagog. Then afterwards I switched to Trigger 2. That's the version I have. Like sometimes I go with Trigger, sometimes I just convert the kick drum signal into MIDI and just replace it within Cubase directly, which is a technique very simple to do. Check out my channel, you know, the Cubase playlist. You'll see there's a tutorial on that, on how to do this within Cubase. And actually, I think I did that on Warren Ewart's channel. I did a Cubase video a few months ago on this particular issue. So check it out. Thanks, Chris. A tutorial would be great. Would be a great idea on mic positions and phase. Perfect. I'm going to work on that for the near future. So that's cool. Okay, let's go back to another video here. out of that recording session. So that is the recording, not a recording room, but a control room where I did the recording in Pro Tools. Okay, very simple setup. So I had a monitor to monitor what was happening on stage while the band was recording, and that was pretty nice. That was the actual recording going on. It was funny because while I was on stage, the only thing you can hear was drums. That's it, you know. So everything was quiet. So that was basically it. Again, I think I ended up with like 35 channels total. That was quite nice. What else do we have here on this video? Yeah, so that's basically it. Okay, so again, the thing I like about live recordings like that is it's just the feel that you get with a live band, you know. Just capturing and recording that live band is always something that can add up to a production. It's different than doing the overdub recording technique, okay? So if you have like a good band, and this is something you need to have, you know, a good, well-prepared band. So the band needs to be ready. They need to know what they're doing, and they need to play as a band as well, because everything shows. And I was lucky enough to have like a very, very cool band and with good musicians, and the synergy, the energy within the band members were very cool. It was very nice, and so we had some very good moments, I would say. So happy I did record it this way. Okay, now you know what? I just want to go back up because I had a Cubase question at first. That was from Lewis. Okay, I didn't forget you, Lewis. I don't know if you're still here on the stream, but if you are, I'm going to try to answer your question. So, how do you monitor in Cubase 9.5 for an entire band without the hassle of the monitor button each time? My client wants to practice, but hear the song, and I have to press and unpress the monitor button. You're doing it in direct monitoring, I guess. If it's only to practice, you can actually I'm going to do a tutorial on that. There's a way you can switch the monitoring. You know what? Let's go in Cubase and check it out. I have a Cubase session open right now. Let me check here. Where is my Cubase session? There it is. So now I don't see the chat anymore, but we're supposed to be in Cubase now. So if I click on my shortcut, I have like, yeah, the monitoring options here. So we have like 4 different monitoring options: the tape machine style, the manual style, and while recorded, which I never use, and while record running, which I never use. So I always work with tape machine style and manual style. So if you keep it at manual and you keep everything in direct monitoring, it's going to be like a console. Okay, so the band is going to hear themselves, and just make sure the actual playback track is not in direct monitoring, and that's it. Okay, so while you're recording, the tape machine style is a good way to go. So anyways, if you want to look for this option, it's in preferences. Now I have a shortcut set up, so it's somewhere. Let me check here. I'm always lost when I get to the preferences. There's so much stuff here. Okay, let me check. I'm just going to find it quickly. Just don't remember where it is. And I don't see the chat, so if you guys are saying... Oh, there you go. It's in VST, okay? And you have the auto monitoring right here, and this is where you can select which one is which, okay? But I would suggest you, if you use that a lot, just, you know, create a shortcut. Just a key command. Go into key commands, okay? Look for direct monitoring, auto monitoring, VST auto. It's already there, okay? And just assign a key. I assign escape, and this is what I use as a key command to go, you know, between these options. Okay, so I hope that helps. Now in my case, the way I work, I use my the console, the virtual console, out of my interface, which is let me show you what I have here. I'm gonna go back here and show you what I use. I have this console. I don't know if you see it, but I have that Lynx mixer that I use to do my monitoring. So this way I don't get into latency and stuff. So it's direct. There's no effects though, but I can monitor direct with no latency using this method. So, all right. I hope that helps, Louis. Let me know if you're still here and if it helps. I'm gonna get back to my coffee for just a minute. All right, let's look at what else we have in the chat. Klaus says, thanks. I also work with both techniques. Yeah, same here. You know, there's some stuff that I prefer doing in overdubs, okay, using the overdubs technique, and there's some other stuff when I have the chance that I like to do live. Okay, so they're both good, both very practical. They sound both, so it depends what you want to achieve. In this case, the artist, she wanted to get a live feel. Okay, so not as a, you know, she wasn't looking for perfection and super quantized stuff. You know, she's looking for feel, a live band type of feel, and this is what we got. Now, if you have to mix and master a song yourself, do you put mastering plugins on the master bus, or do you create a separate Cubase project only to master? I create a separate Cubase project or Wavelab project to do my mastering, so I don't do it within the mix. Okay, there's nothing wrong on doing so, but I don't. Okay, so I love to just open a new session, you know, whether I use Cubase or Wavelab to do my mastering, just so I just get away from the mix, or else I'm just going to be tempted to just go back in the mix and fix some stuff. And you know, once I'm happy with the mix, I move forward. I don't get into that nostalgic type of feel to go back into the mix and fix everything, because else I'm just not going to finish the project. So if I master the mix, okay, usually when I mix an album, I try not to do the mastering. I usually have a mastering engineer to work on the mixes I mix, and sometimes I only do mastering for some mixes. So there you go. Hope that helps. Okay, just joined. Fidelity. Welcome, my friend. Now we have 26 people. That's so cool. Again, guys, like, share this link. Let people know that we are live. I'm gonna go with sparkling water now. You get thirsty when you talk a lot, man. Crazy. All right, okay, now just joined. Don't know if somebody asked, but how do you deal with all kinds of bleeding doing live recording? Good question. I answered that earlier in the stream, but I'm just gonna, you know, go back briefly on what I was saying earlier. Okay, basically, it wasn't a live recording in front of a public. It was just on a live on the stage of a church. That's it. Okay, so what we did, I made sure that the singer was way across the room from the drummer. Okay, so they were facing each other up. So this way, I just made sure that I was getting less bleed as possible. And I had that type of, I forgot the name of that thing, you know. Let me show you. I think it's in one of the videos here. I'm just going to start the video up, and at some point it's going to get to the stage, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's a kind of a microphone acoustic panel stuff that is half circular that you put in front of a microphone. So I use that just to try to get less bleed as possible out of the drums. Now the guitar amps were in the back of the stage. Everything was recorded in the back. Okay, so on the stage we actually didn't hear the guitars much, you know. I was, especially when the drums were playing, there was no chance to hear the guitars on the stage, which was good. Same for the bass amp. So this is how I did it. So we have some bleed for sure. There's some bleed into the vocal mic, but you know, the minute she's singing, we cannot hear the drums. So the drums, the bleed is not going over the performance, over the vocal sound. And this is what is most important. So there you go. So this is what I was talking about. And on top of that, I had like a plexiglass, like maybe 10, 15 feet in front of the singer, just again to try to avoid getting too much bleed. And it helped, you know, it's not perfect, but it helped. So yeah, I ended up with a minimal bleed out of the drums, which was the main sound on stage. Okay, we have Get Out There Records. What is the most important part in a mix? Good question, man. Oh, yeah, I like that question. Ah, man, I think everything is important in the mix. You know, I would say at the end of a mix, if I get the song to be emotionally in place, I think I succeeded. You know, if the mix represents what the song is about. Okay, so you know, there's some technical stuff on the mix, but there's also an artistic part of a mix, where you want the listener to feel something, you know, when listening to your mix. My goal is always to have the listener going to some type of adventure when listening to a song, you know. So I want to bring the listener somewhere, you know, with the mix. So this is a bit more, you know, the artistic side of what's important in the mix. Balance is important in the mix. Sometimes, you know, I'm not going to say like you need to hear all instruments. No, because that depends on, sometimes the drums needs to be up front, sometimes it's a guitar, it depends. So sometimes an instrument is not going to be, you're not going to hear the instrument, but you're going to feel it. Same for an effect. So I think a great balance is very important. So there's more than one thing that is important. So it's hard to point out something that is the most important, in my opinion anyways. For a mix, I think a well-balanced mix as far as frequency goes is very important. As far as the tracks within each other is very important, and especially you can have a good sounded mix that is dull. Okay, so this is not better, you know. And you can have like a very good feel and a very good artistic mix that sounds very bad. So again, so it's, you know, it's a matter of balance. So yeah, it's a broad answer, I'm sorry, but yeah. So I would say there's a lot of stuff that is important in the mix. But yeah, balance, I guess, would be balance and feel. Let's stick with that. Then we have Lucas Fernandez from Portugal. Cool. Hey, it's pretty late for you guys, I think, eh? Now it's it's 20 to 4 p.m. here in Montreal. So I don't know what is the time in Portugal and Spain and Europe. I think we have like 6 hour difference or so. We have Marco from Italy. So we have a lot of people from Europe. That's pretty cool. So I'm probably like Americans and Canadians are probably still at work. So yeah, maybe that's why. Neil, great. Chris, thanks for the answer. You're welcome, my friend. Same for Fidelity. Welcome. Welcome. Is drive the same as gain? No. Drive has to do with is a bit like saturation, I would say. If you add more drive within your plugin, it's going to add, you're going to just saturate your sound, basically. Now, I guess it depends on the plugin, but with the plugins I work with anyways, the gain is actually the amount of signal you put into the plugin. So if your plugin has an input gain knob, this is where you control the amount of signal coming into the plugin. Usually when you get a drive option, most of the time anyways, you're just going to add some saturation to the signal. So might not be the case for all plugins. Cheers, Chris. Thank you for the answer. Perfect. Enjoy watching your tour of your studio. You mentioned the last time you were live. Thank you for watching. That's so cool. Yeah, I find myself pretty lucky to have that studio in my home. I love working from home. I don't like to drive my car into the traffic much, so the basement is a good option for me. So it's 20:40 and 20 to 9 p.m. in Europe. Cool stuff. We have someone, Siobhan from Iraq. That's cool, man. Awesome. People from Iraq. I love that. And Kurdistan, is that like a part of Iraq? I don't know Iraq pretty well. I know where it is, but within Iraq, no, I don't know if all the regions and stuff, but cool. Shout out from Las Vegas. Hey, I've never been to Vegas, but man, you guys had like a killer entry for the NHL hockey team. First year, you made it to the Stanley Cup playoff series, which was pretty cool. I was actually cheering for you guys. So I don't know if you're a hockey fan, but I know here in Canada we're kind of hockey fans big time. I prefer football though. Okay, right. So Klaus, how do you place JIT in the mix? Let's say 3 JIT playing the same, 3 GIT, okay. 3 guitar playing at the same time. It depends on the guitar part. Like in this case, we're talking about guitars, I hope, because, yeah, I guess GIT is guitar. So how do you place that in the mix? Now, it depends on the song, depends of the type of production and the guitar parts that are played, in case of this is the mainly thing, because I do some mixes and production where I can have like 4 different guitar parts playing at the same time, but they're each going to play something different and they're going to complement each other. And sometimes a guitar line can play only one thing at one specific time, you know, and it has its place. And this track can be panned to the far right or right in the middle. It depends. Like in this case, I had 2 for this recording, this production. I had 2 electric guitar players. So most of the time, one is going to be on the left and the other one on the right. They're playing some guitar parts that complements each other, and by panning them left and right, it kind of adds up a very cool vibe. Okay, so that is probably the way I am going to mix them for this particular production. All right, we have GTA in Pakistan. That's so cool. Okay, now talking about the drums. Okay, I'm going to finish with the drums out of that production. Now it's funny because I know that venue pretty well, and I always had good results recording drums on this stage. Okay, I love the sound of drums on this stage. I don't know what's about the stage and stuff, but you know, it sounds just very good. And I took advantage of having that huge room. Okay, so what I did this time, I didn't do that the first time I recorded drums there, but I did this time around, you know, where I took a pair of AKG 414s, which are microphones, condenser microphones, and they have like multiple polar patterns. Okay, so I put those in figure 8 pattern, and I just, you know, put them like facing the drums, but you know, in the hall, basically off the stage, maybe back 30 feet or so, you know, so it can capture a bit of the room, and it kind of sounded very, very good. So, you know, let me just have you listen to just one drum groove that I recorded with the drummer, just to give you an idea. And this is a rough mix without plugins. This is the actual drum sound that I got, that I have to work with. Let me check. I have a remote here with my iPad, which is pretty cool, that controls Streamlabs, which is quite nice. Okay, now where is the drums? Oh, there you go. All right, so you get the idea, okay? Now, if we go in Cubase, okay, I'm just going to go in Cubase briefly. I hope that's going to work. I tested that out before I started the stream, so I hope that is going to work, okay? So I have that same drum groove, okay? All right, so let's listen to The Room. Now, the only thing I have on that room is just a tiny EQ. I routed that into a bus, okay, a stereo bus, and I just tamed down a bit of the high. It was a bit harsh, so I just tamed that down. So this is what I have to start with for my bass drum sound, okay? This is going to be my starting point. Okay, so if I go into the mix console, if I mute, I'm just going to mute the room so you can hear what the drum sounds like. Oh, sorry, I think my microphone was off. I am so sorry. Okay, sorry guys, I'm gonna say that again. All right, let's go into and look at all the tracks that I have here. All right, first, the kick drum, okay? My kick number one, the one that is inside the kick drum. I use an AKG, no, not an AKG, a Beta 52. Which gives me a lot of attack, not much of body, but a lot of attack. As a second mic outside, I had a more boomy type of sound using the Rode Classic 2. Okay, on its own, it sounds like, you know, a bit too muddy, but if I blend that with the actual Beta 52, okay, it sounds a bit better. Now, on top of that, I had a Yamaha sub kick. Okay, so that is the type of, I don't know if you saw it on the stream, but on the video sequences, but it's the type of it's a speaker basically, you know, that mics the drum and gives us some low end. I'm just gonna put that in solo. Okay, so if I listen to three of them together. So it's kind of cool. So anyways, I'm going to work with that in the mix. On the snare, 57s, one SM57 on top. At the bottom, a Beta 57, basically. Toms, we use the Audix D2 and D4 for one of the floors. The overheads, I use my favorite overhead microphones up to now, the Roswell Pro Audio Mini K47. So if you can get a good drum sound with only the overheads, yeah, that helps a lot. I think it's a very good start to a good drum sound. Then the rooms, that I told you earlier, 414s. That's pretty cool. And all those together. So there you go. So this is my drum sound that I have up to now. All right, so let's go on the chat. Okay, now I'm gonna be here for another 10 minutes, okay, and then I'm gonna have to go. Okay, now Siobhan was asking, may you tell me what kind of plugin you use for mastering? Okay, that depends. What I'm using lately, nothing in particular. I use like my Tegler Audio Creme, actually, you know, that, I don't know if you see it, that unit here, which is my main mastering compressor. It's a stereo bus compressor. I use that as mastering compressor as well. And there's a type of a boost EQ on it as well. So I use that. I use the Pro L from FabFilter as a limiter. I kind of like this plugin a lot. I use the meter plugins for monitoring. The one I forgot the name of those plugins. If you check on my website, they are listed there. Okay, let me check. Okay, they're very cool plugins. I'm just gonna go directly on my website. Man, I'm so not good with names. I tend to forget names like big time. Okay, I don't know if I'm getting old or not, but yeah. So yeah, the monitoring plugin I love. Perception is a very cool plugin. Ian Shepherd is one of the. I think he's the one who worked on that plugin. Dynameter is amazing. This is monitoring plugins. Okay, they don't affect the sound, but I use them in mastering a lot. EQ, if I do some correction, I'm going to use the FabFilter Pro Q. So I basically do some basic EQing, compression, limiting. Sometimes I'm going to use a tape emulation plugin. The one from UAD usually does the job. Some console emulation, but not more than that. Sometimes the one from IK Multimedia does work pretty well. Does has something cool in this plugin, but that's basically what I use for mastering. And what else do we have here? We have Edwin from the Netherlands. Cool. I've never been there, but I would love to go and visit. I heard you have a nice country. Tulis, what's up, Chris? Sorry, I'm late to the party. I know you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Even if you're here for the last 10 minutes, you are welcome, and thank you for being here. That's so cool. Just one more question from Get Out There Records. I love the name. It's a cool name, by the way. Please, what is the best level to record at, dB-wise? I always tend to, like, I have a very good gain staging video on my YouTube channel. Okay, check it out. I think I did that 2 years ago, and it's still going on. You know, it's a very good video talking about gain staging and how loud I record my stuff. Usually, I tend to record at an average of -18 dBFS, the full scale range, which is like 0 VU if you put in a VU meter, and you calibrate that at -18, so you're going to get 0 VU. This is what I usually do, so it gives me more headroom when I mix, okay, so I don't end up having to bring down my master fader when I'm near the end of my mix because everything is too loud. So this is what I tend to do. I tend to stay between -18, maximum the peaks at -12, you know. If tracks, you know, you can record up to, as far as you don't go to 0, you're good, okay? But so if I get like a project that was recorded at -5, for example, dBFS, doesn't matter. This is good quality recording. The only thing is, while mixing, I'm just going to bring everything down, okay? I'm just going to gain stage everything to -18 in average, okay, to get more headroom in the end, okay? So this is how I do stuff. So in recording, yeah, I'm going to try to do it right off the bat when I record, so I don't have to regain stage while mixing. So this is my answer to that question, but go check my video on that. Okay, Daniel Jacques, that's excellent interaction. Merci, Daniel. Yeah, the mic was off, eh, Klaus? Yeah, sorry, man. Yes, Fidelity, the Roswell microphone are great. I love them. You know, this is the Delphos actually that I use as my my microphone when I do YouTube videos and stuff, and I use it a lot with the vocals here in the studio. I love the sound of this mic. Even for acoustic guitars, it's pretty good. For some jazzy guitar sounded amps, sounds very good. For clean sounds especially. Distorted sounds, more heavy sounds, I prefer the Mini K47 blended with a 57. That's a good combination. What do you use for QMix when tracking a band? Thanks. I actually don't use QMix very much. I tend to do everything within I was saying that earlier in the chat, I tend to do everything within the virtual console that comes with my sound interface, which is the Lynx Aurora 16. So let me show you what I have. Okay, it's right here. So that is the console that comes with the links. Okay, that's the links mixer. So I can actually have several different mixes. So I have like 16 outputs. So right here, if I click on one of those, okay, now I can't right now, but this one is selected right now, so this is my main output, you know, the output of my speakers. Like the Play 03 and 04, that's one stereo output that I have as a monitor, as a stereo monitor for the singer, for example, or for a band. I can have up to 14 mono mixes if I want using this technique, and it's within, there's no latency basically using this way, because everything goes directly from the sound interface to the players. It doesn't go through the software, because using the software like Cubase, Pro Tools, and so on is going to add a bit of latency. You can bring your buffer size lower if you want to get less latency. I can do a vid on that later on. That would be a good vid to do, actually. Yeah, so I don't use much of QMix. I do right now, actually, when I do some Cubase videos, YouTube stuff, I do have a QMix that I use, just because I use SonarWorks Reference 4 when I do my monitoring, and I don't want that output plugin affect the sound that is recorded for my YouTube video. So I just bypass that output by using a QMix. Maybe that's a bit complicated, but this is what I do. So there you go. So, you know, using the links virtual mixer is a bit like using a console, okay, a digital console. So that's basically it, but it's within your computer. So this is why I don't get any latency doing so. But in the other hand, I don't have any effects, okay? So I have to you know, do it another way to get some effects to the lead singer, for example. If I want to add some vocals, something I can probably share on the video. I can manage to do so, but in a different way. Like if you get sound interfaces like RME and UAD interfaces, they have on their virtual mixers, you have access to plugins that you can monitor without any latency. So before it hits the DAW. So that's another way if you get these kind of interfaces. All right, 2 more minutes, guys, and I'm gonna have to go. Mixtronics is awesome. What is Mixtronics? Sorry, man, I don't know what that is. Let me know in the chat. Fidelity, I can recommend the Motu AVB interface. I don't know. I used to. My first interface almost was a Motu, but that didn't work out. But I never worked with Motu afterwards. They have onboard effects and 8 aux mixes. That's cool. You know, this is something that I kind of don't like with my setup, is the fact that I don't have those effects within the links virtual mixer. So maybe, you know, I would love to set myself up with some UAD stuff, just to get access to those plugins, because I'm already using UAD plugins anyway, so that would be a good fit. So maybe in the future I will change my setup. We'll see. But it's good to know that Motu AVB has some onboard effects as well, so that is worth checking out. So thanks for the info, Fidelity. So there you go, guys. First, I just want to say thank you for you guys to being here on this chat. Now, let me know if you can leave comments, you know, even if it's not in the chat, you can leave comments below and let me know if Mondays are good for you guys to chat with me. I think that would be a good day for me anyways, to do a live stream, since this is my YouTube day. Okay, this is where the day I produce videos and stuff, so I might as well do a live at the same time. So if that works for you, we can do this maybe every Monday or every second Monday. Okay, so I'll see how it goes on my side before committing on a specific schedule. Okay, but for now, I don't know about next week. Maybe next week I'll do one, but for sure, if it's not next week, it's going to be the following week. But I'm going to notify you guys on the YouTube channel and by email. So guys, thank you again. Again, if you're not subscribed here and this is your first time viewing my my channel, you know, check out all the other videos I have on my channel. We have some good resources there for music production, recording, and mixing. Subscribe and make sure you guys click that notification bell so every time I'm live or I upload a new video, you'll be notified. All right. So guys, this is going to be it for me today. Hope you guys are gonna have a great week, and I am looking forward for the next live stream, and there's a new vid coming up this week, later on this week. You guys take care. Thanks again. See you soon.